Yo, what's up everybody? Tonight we're talking Equatorial Guinea, and no, it's not next to Rhode Island. This place is small, like really small, tucked away on the west coast of Africa. Think 2-for-1 island deal, one mainland, one island, boom. Don't let the size fool you though, .g quote, S got history, drama, the works. We're talking centuries of stories packed into a nation you can practically drive across in an afternoon. Buckle up folks, it's gonna be a wild ride. So, before the whole colonialism thing went down, Equatorial Guinea was a land of rich and diverse cultures, thriving in its own unique way. Equatorial Guinea was vibing with its own people, living harmoniously with nature and each other. The land was a tapestry of vibrant communities, each contributing to the rich cultural mosaic. Like, way before Columbus was even a thought bubble, these ancient civilizations had their own systems of governance, social structures and ways of life that were deeply rooted in their traditions and beliefs. We're talking about tribes like the Fang, who were known for their intricate art and spiritual practices. They had a deep connection to their ancestors and the land they lived on. The Bubi, who were skilled in agriculture and fishing, and the Ndowe, who were renowned for their seafaring abilities and trade networks, each with their own thing going on. These tribes had their own languages, customs, and traditions that were passed down through generations. Think languages, cultures, traditions, the whole shebang. They celebrated their heritage through music, dance, and storytelling, keeping their history alive and vibrant. These weren't just your average tribes chilling in the jungle. They were organized communities with complex social hierarchies and roles. They had social structures, trade networks, the whole 9 yards. They engaged in trade with neighboring regions, exchanging goods and ideas, which enriched their cultures even further. It was organized, it was popping, and then everything changed. The arrival of European colonizers disrupted their way of life, bringing about significant and often devastating changes. Yeah, you guessed it, colonialism came knocking. The rich tapestry of Equatorial Guinea's pre-colonial history was forever altered, but the legacy of those ancient civilizations still echoes in the culture and traditions of the people today. Enter the Europeans stage left. The age of exploration was in full swing, and the European powers were eager to expand their horizons. They were driven by a mix of curiosity, greed, and a desire to spread their influence across the globe. The African continent, with its rich resources and strategic locations, became a prime target for these ambitious explorers. First up, the Portuguese in the 15th century. These intrepid sailors were among the first Europeans to set foot on the shores of what we now know as Equatorial Guinea. They were motivated by the promise of new trade routes and the potential for wealth that lay in the unknown lands. They were like, ooh, shiny new land, let's trade some stuff. The Portuguese quickly established trade relations with the local African communities, exchanging goods such as textiles, metalware, and other European products for valuable African commodities like gold, ivory, and spices. This initial contact set the stage for a complex web of trade and cultural exchanges that would shape the region's history. And by stuff, we mean people. Tragically, the burgeoning trade soon took a dark turn. The Portuguese, along with other European powers, began to engage in the transatlantic slave trade. African men, women, and children were forcibly taken from their homes and shipped across the ocean to work in brutal conditions in the Americas. This horrific practice had devastating effects on African societies, tearing families apart and causing untold suffering. The slave trade was in full swing, and unfortunately, Equatorial Guinea got caught in the crosshairs. The region became a significant hub in the network of slave routes that crisscrossed the Atlantic. The impact of this dark chapter in history is still felt today, as the legacy of the slave trade continues to influence the social and economic fabric of the region. But hey, at least they got named after a line on a map. The name Equatorial Guinea reflects the country's geographical location near the equator. This seemingly arbitrary naming highlights the often superficial and arbitrary nature of European colonialism, where territories were frequently named and claimed with little regard for the existing cultures and histories of the people who lived there. Fast forward to the 18th century, and Spain's like, hey, we want a piece of that action. The Spanish, eager to expand their own colonial empire, began to assert their influence over the region. They established settlements and sought to exploit the area's resources, often clashing with other European powers in the process. And so began the back and forth, with the island hopping between European powers faster than a hot potato at a family reunion. The control of Equatorial Guinea shifted multiple times, with the Portuguese, Spanish, and even the British vying for dominance. This constant tug-of-war left a lasting impact on the region, as the local populations were caught in the middle of these power struggles, their lives and futures shaped by the whims of distant empires. Section 4, Spain's turn Fiesta, Siesta, and, not-so-great stuff. So, Spain managed to hang on to Equatorial Guinea for a hot minute, and let's just say it wasn't all sunshine and siestas. We're talking forced labor, brutal treatment, and the whole colonial playbook. But, hey, at least they got some Spanish lessons out of it, right? On a serious note, the Spanish left their mark on Equatorial Guinea, from the language to the architecture and beyond. Section 5, Freedom. Then things got complicated. Fast forward to 1968 and Equatorial Guinea's finally like, okay, we're done with this whole colony thing. Cue the confetti, the celebrations, the hope for a brighter future. But hold up, things got a little complicated. Enter Francisco Macias Nguema, the first president. Let's just say his idea of leadership was a little intense. Think paranoia, dictatorships, and a whole lot of disappearances. Not exactly the freedom party everyone signed up for. Section 6. Oil, money, and where's it all going? Plot twist. In the 90s, Equatorial Guinea discovers it's sitting on a gold mine, well, an oil mine, which is basically the same thing, right? Suddenly everyone wants to be best friends with Equatorial Guinea. But here's the kicker. Instead of the money trickling down to the people, it kinda just disappeared. Like, poof. We're talking lavish lifestyles for the few, while the majority are still struggling to make ends meet. Section 7. So what's next for Equatorial Guinea? So where does that leave Equatorial Guinea today? This small yet resource-rich nation has been at a crossroads for years, grappling with the duality of immense natural wealth and significant socio-political challenges. That's the million-dollar question, folks. With its vast oil reserves and natural resources, Equatorial Guinea has the potential to transform itself into a beacon of prosperity in Central Africa. But potential alone isn't enough. They've got the oil, they've got the resources, but they've also got a whole lot of challenges. The country's wealth has often been a double-edged sword, bringing both opportunities and obstacles. Will they be able to break free from the cycle of corruption and inequality? The government has made some strides, but systemic issues remain deeply entrenched. Public protests and calls for reform are a testament to the people's desire for change. Will they finally achieve the bright future they fought so hard for? Education and youth empowerment are key areas that could drive this transformation. The younger generation is more connected and informed than ever before, ready to take on leadership roles. Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, Equatorial Guinea's story is far from over. The resilience and spirit of its people continue to shine through, offering hope for a brighter tomorrow. Stay tuned as we follow this unfolding narrative.